The night air was cool, and the soft hum of crickets filled the silence as I stood on the porch watching the stars twinkle in the clear sky. My husband, Tom, was away on a business trip, leaving me alone in our large, somewhat lonely house. It wasn't often that he left for work, but when he did, the quietness of our home always felt a little too loud. Just as I was about to head inside, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my nephew, Jack. "At least I'm bored, mind if I come over? We could play some games." Jack, my sister's son, was a bright young man in his early 20s, full of energy and mischief, since he lived just a few blocks away. It wasn't unusual for him to drop by now and then, especially when Tom was out of town. I smiled at the message, sure. "Come on over, bring your favorite game," I replied within minutes. Jack arrived, a wide grin on his face and a couple of game controllers in hand. "I hope you're ready to lose Aunt Lisa," he teased as he walked through the door. "Oh, we'll see about that," I laughed, leading him to the living room where the gaming console awaited. The hours ticked by as we immersed ourselves in a world of friendly competition, and laughter. Jack's youthful enthusiasm was infectious, making the house feel alive again. We played game after game, losing track of time caught up in the excitement. Just as we finished another round, Jack leaned back on the couch, stretching his arms. "This is the most fun I've had in weeks," he admitted. "Thanks for letting me come over." I waved off his thanks with a smile. "You're always welcome here, Jack. It's been nice having company." As the clock struck midnight, we decided to call it a night. But before Jack left, he turned to me, his expression suddenly serious. "You know, Uncle Tom is a lucky man to have you. I hope he knows that." His words, though innocent, hung in the air with a weight that caught me off guard. I felt a blush creep up my neck as I stammered, "Thanks, Jack. You should get going. It's getting late." Jack nodded, but the look in his eyes lingered a moment longer before he turned to leave. As the door closed behind him, I couldn't shake the feeling that tonight's games had stirred something unexpected, something that might not be so easily dismissed. The next morning, I woke up with a lingering sense of unease. Jack's words from the night before echoed in my mind. "Uncle Tom is a lucky man to have you." There was nothing inherently wrong with what he had said, but the way he looked at me, the tone he used, it felt different. I tried to brush it off as overthinking, convincing myself that it was just a harmless comment. The day passed quietly with Tom still away on his trip. I busied myself with household chores and a bit of work from my home office. By the time evening rolled around, I found myself longing for some company again. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. It was Jack. "Aunt Lisa up for another round tonight. I had a blast yesterday," the message read. A part of me hesitated, recalling the subtle shift in the atmosphere the night before. But loneliness was a strong motivator, and I didn't want to be alone in the house. "Sure, come over," I replied, trying to keep things light and casual. Jack arrived shortly after, carrying a bag of snacks this time. "Figured we might need some fuel for the games," he said with a grin, setting the bag down on the coffee table. We resumed our gaming session, the tension from the previous night seemingly forgotten as we laughed and competed. But every now and then, I caught Jack glancing at me, his eyes lingering just a little too long. It wasn't overt, but it was enough to make me aware of his presence, in a way I hadn't been before. At one point, we paused the game to grab some snacks. As I reached for a bag of chips, our hands brushed. Jack didn't pull away immediately, and for a brief second our eyes met. A silent communication passing between us. I quickly retracted my hand, laughing nervously to dispel the awkwardness. "You're quite the competitor, Jack," I said, hoping to steer the conversation back to safer ground. "So are you, Aunt Lisa?" He responded, his voice softer. more intimate. We continued playing, but the atmosphere had shifted again. Subtly but noticeably, Jack seemed more relaxed, more at ease, while I felt a growing tension and awareness of his every move. It was a strange feeling, one I wasn't sure how to handle. As the night wore on, I realized it was time to end the session. We should probably call it a night, I suggested, turning off the console. Jack stood up, stretching once more. Thanks for tonight. I really enjoy spending time with you. I nodded, walking him to the door. As he stepped outside, he turned back, his expression unreadable. Maybe we can do this again tomorrow. I hesitated but found myself nodding maybe. Jack smiled and walked away, leaving me standing in the doorway, a flurry of emotions swirling within me. I closed the door and leaned against it, wondering what exactly we were playing at here. The next day, I found myself thinking about Jack more than I should have. His presence, his words, even the way he looked at me. It all lingered in my mind like a melody I couldn't shake. I busied myself with errands and tasks, trying to distract myself, but nothing seems to work. By evening, Jack texted again. Ready for round 3, I stared at the message, my heart thudding in my chest. I knew I should probably say no, put some distance between us, but the thought of another night alone in the house was less appealing. Sure, I finally replied, adding, but maybe we should take it easy tonight. Jack arrived with the same easy smile, carrying a new game for us to try. Don't worry, this one's more relaxed, he said, as if sensing my apprehension. We settled in, and for a while, everything felt normal again. The game was engaging but less competitive, allowing for more casual conversation. Jack told me about his friends, his job, and his plans for the future. It felt good to connect beyond the games. As the hours slipped by, the room grew quieter, the conversation more personal. Jack leaned back on the couch, watching me intently. You're really something, Aunt Lisa, he said, his voice low. I felt a blush creeping up my neck again. Jack, you shouldn't. I mean it, he interrupted gently. You're kind, fun, and so easy to talk to. I don't know many people like you. I looked away, unsure how to respond. The boundaries between us felt blurred, and I wasn't sure where the line was anymore. Jack, we've always been close, but he leaned in slightly, his expression sincere. But what I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. We need to be mindful of how close we get. You're my nephew and I'm your aunt. Jack nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. I understand, I don't want to make things awkward. You're not, I assured him quickly, though I wasn't entirely sure I believed it. Let's just keep things light like before, okay? He agreed, though his tone suggested he wasn't entirely convinced. We wrapped up the game shortly after, and as Jack stood to leave, he hesitated at the door. Thank you for tonight. I appreciate you spending time with me. Anytime, I replied, hoping to sound casual. Drive safe, Jack smiled. A soft, lingering smile that stayed with me, even after I closed the door behind him. Alone again, I sat on the couch, feeling the weight of the evening settle over me. The lines between us had blurred, and I wasn't sure how to redraw them. The next day, I woke up determined to regain control of the situation. I cared deeply for Jack, but I knew we needed to establish clear boundaries. The previous nights had been fun, but they had also left me with a sense of unease that I couldn't ignore. Jack texted again in the afternoon. Want to hang out tonight? I took a deep breath before replying, choosing my words carefully. Jack, I think we need to take a break from these late-night gaming sessions. It's been great, but we need to be mindful of boundaries. His response was swift. Did I do something wrong? No, it's just that I think we're getting a bit too comfortable. And it's important to keep things in perspective. I wrote back, hoping he'd understand. There was a long pause before his reply came. I get it. I didn't mean to cross any lines. I just enjoy spending time with you. I enjoy it too, Jack. But let's make sure we keep things appropriate. I typed, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness. That evening, the house felt quieter than usual. I missed the laughter and the company, but I knew this was the right decision. It was necessary to prevent any further confusion or missteps. A few days later, Jack called. Hey, Aunt Lisa. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry if I made things weird. I didn't mean to, I know, Jack. And I'm sorry too. It's easy to let things blur when we're having fun. But we're family, and that's important to remember. Yeah, he agreed. Can we still hang out maybe during the day? Grab lunch or something, of course. I replied, smiling at the thought. I'd like that. We settled back into a comfortable rhythm, one that respected the boundaries we had set. The nights of gaming were replaced with occasional lunches, and phone calls, and the tension that had crept in slowly dissolved. In the end, we both understood the importance of maintaining our relationship in a way that honored the familial bond we shared. It was a lesson in recognizing the lines that should not be crossed, even when the temptation to blur them might arise.